I'm often asked the question by advisors and families about the difference between ownership and stewardship. In my life, I've had to learn this the hard way. And so Scripture is replete with examples that tell us that God is the owner of all things, not only our material wealth, but also our gifts and our talents. And so as we look today at the question of ownership against stewardship, I think it's clear that we are to use that stewardship example as a platform from which to also manage the assets that God has entrusted us with. Now, whether we look at the parable of the talents or many other places in Scripture, I think we can see clearly that God is an investor owner who really is in anticipation of a return. So how do we do that in a faith-driven or a biblically filtered or any other descriptor that you find out there in the community today? I think we do that by simply asking ourselves the question, if Jesus were here advising me, if He were my advisor, or if He was a trainer of registered investment advisors, what would He advise us to do with His and His Father's assets? And so that is not an exact science, but is absolutely led by the fact that we put God's plan and purpose for His kingdom first. We consider those things that are beneficial in the world, those things that do good, don't do harm, those things that enrich and encourage, don't discourage or tear down, those things that are inclusive, not divisive, and those things that ultimately give a great return from an impact investment. Now, what do we mean by impact? Well, impact is just not measured, of course, by numbers, by actual dollars in return, but is also measured by what impact it has on the people, both the employees that work for a given company you may invest in, the customers that they serve, the ultimate users of their products, and whether that use or service is really putting them in a better place or is really putting them in a worse place. Many people ask the question about, well, but if I invest from a faith-based viewpoint, am I not going to get a lesser return? You know, this is really a myth that's out there. God actually calls us as followers of Christ to be excellent in all that we do. And so therefore in that excellence, we should strive not only to have a return that's equal to, but greater than that would be in the world. And so we do that by the very fact that people who are happier in their workplace, products that are made as unto the Lord, services that are conducted from a servant attitude and mindset, they have a spiritual return that's very, very difficult to measure and impossible to duplicate on the behalf of people who aren't Christ followers. And so this whole idea that you're settling for a lesser return, you should have an expectation of a lesser return, is absolutely a myth. There's no evidence out there that would support that. With your DAF at the Signatry, you've already acquired a tool that is going to allow you to be perfectly set up to make investing a faith-driven experience, not only just for your current generation, but for generations to come. The guidelines around grant policy and investment policy put you in a perfect position to be able to invest in alignment with God's plans and His purpose, and to do that in perpetuity until Christ returns.